Cooper is a 10-year-old golden retriever that was brought to me, that Debbie brought to me several months ago. And it was one of those cases that had so many symptoms, so many drugs. My mind boggled with I allowed an hour and a half per patient, but I could have gone on for hours going over all these medications and symptoms and trying to figure out what's going on right now. So I try to simplify things. What I do is I say, okay, when did the problem start? Let's try to organize all of these symptoms, because it was just such an array of different specialists, different medications, different symptoms. I didn't know what was the original problem, what was caused by the medications. So it seems that the dog had started limping around Christmas time, and it was never any definitive diagnosis, but the doctor just assumed it may be Lyme disease, and they put the dog on doxycycline, which seemed to help the limping temporarily. But then all these other symptoms started happening. The dog started getting some red eyes. It got a weird growth, which ended up being biopsied, was the histiocytoma. She was sent to the oncologist. She developed dry eye, was put on cyclosporin. The eyes became all red. The head started, the vertex of the head, the top of the head was boiling hot. And the limping was still there. Then the dog had no energy. It was really weak. It didn't want to move. It was voracious. It was muscles were wasting. So, a lot of these symptoms could be attributed to the prednisone. But, I felt actually there was some grief. The owner had been away on vacation originally. And it was my hypothesis that it was the grief during the Christmas vacation that triggered the whole thing off. So again, I go down to basics and I try to do a emotional analysis of the dog. And what I saw, as with most golden retrievers, they're so sensitive, they're so sweet, they're so sensitive. They tend to overreact to things emotionally. They overreact to drugs. And when I did my little homeopathic workup, I came up with a certain remedy that addresses all of the above problems. And I've been working with Debbie now for several months, and the dog is as good as new. I'm as amazed as she is. She had the growth on its eye had to be removed. Another one had grown back right after it, and they said that had to be removed. They discussed maybe having to do more aggressive anti-cancer treatments.
Cooper he's a 10-and-a-half-year-old golden retriever, and he's always been fairly moderate to high energy dog, always happy, wants to play. I noticed over the winter that he was getting very lethargic. He didn't want to play. He wasn't interested when somebody came to the door. I took him to the vet, and they said, oh, he's just getting old. There's nothing wrong with him. So I said, well, maybe they're right. And then I noticed it got worse and worse and worse, and it got to the point where he was limping. He didn't even want to get up. I would pick up his ball to throw it to him, and he would just ignore me and go lay in his bed. I said, something's radically wrong with him. And then it got to the point where he wouldn't eat, and he was really, really bad. The vet gave me medication for Lyme disease because he was limping. That didn't really help. I noticed the whites of his eyes were red as anything. Went to the vet and they said, oh, he probably just has allergies. They gave me drops. It got worse and worse and worse. And then finally I went to a dog eye doctor, and they said he had some kind of autoimmune. They gave me all kinds of medications for him, for his eyes, and prednisone for his.
Cyclosporin, right?
Yeah, and cyclosporin eye drop. He also had a lump in his eye, and they removed the lump, and they found out that it was I don't know if I pronounce it right, histiocytes or histocytes, which is almost like a form of cancer, and usually they have that through their whole body. Then I went to a cancer doctor, and he told me he didn't have it through his whole body, he just had it probably in his eyes. Anyway, they loaded him up with all kinds of medications and eye drops and everything, and he was just getting worse and worse. And he couldn't even get up, he wouldn't eat. And then I came to see Dr. Fallek, and we took him off all the medications, actually, right? And she gave me a remedy, and she gave me just eye drops to lubricate his eyes because they were very dry. And he started, doing better. He started getting perkier and eating. Oh, he had lost all his, a lot of his fur. His coat was gone. He had lost all the hair on his nose. And Dr. Fallek said she thought that he had thyroid problem because of the autoimmune disease. So she gave me Siloxane, and that made a huge difference in him. It gave him energy. His hair started coming back. Started eating. He had lumps under. Come here, Coop. He had lumps like under here, two big, huge lumps, and They actually, one went away right away after the homeopathic remedies. And then finally, this one's going down now. We had this one a long time. This one's almost gone. So it's really been fabulous, wonderful. And I got my dog back. He wants to play again. He's feeling good. And, you know, he looks great.
So in the end of the day, this wasn't age. It wasn't age.
No, it was definitely not age. And it was not age. It was not Lyme disease. It wasn't allergy.
It wasn't cancer.
Right, it wasn't cancer. No, no.
And is there any problem with the dog at all now?
No.
He's
really, really doing well. Yeah. In fact, he's eating too good now. He's got to lose a little weight. He got a little chunky.
So it's several months I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
And he's been on some supplements for arthritis, and how is that doing?
Yes, that's made a huge difference. He would actually like limp after he was in the yard, like playing, running after his ball. And now his limp, you know, but once in a while he'll limp if he's been really, really active.
Yeah.
But it's made a huge difference.
Huge difference. He's not limping anymore.
No.
His eyes are not dry. He's not getting any crud in his eyes. We're off of all those very immunosuppressive drops like cyclosporin and antibiotics, and he's just on artificial tears in his eyes. Let's have a look at you, Cooper. Let me see those eyes. I mean, I can see the tear production. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
No redness. His eyes were very, very red, if I recall looking at my notes here. They were red all around the edges here.
Yeah, they're still a little red, but they're...
Where is it? Show me the red here.
If you pull them back, they're a little red, but they're so much better.
One.
They were like beet red at one point.
And show me that lump.
The lump was in, you know, I never can remember.
See it.
I never can remember which eye it was in. I think
so
it was
the time when you can't figure it out. I mean,
I think it was in the left eye. It was up over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but I mean, I really don't see any lump at all here right now.
Yeah.
When I first examined him, he was very restless. Is he still restless?
Well, he's restless because he gets kind of nervous when he goes to the vet.
Oh, with a little bit of anxiety.
But at home, he's not really
And
restless.
you know what? He had that heat on his head. Remember that?
What's head? Right.
Right. How is that doing?
I haven't felt that.
No more heat.
No more heat.
It was sort of like the whole head, eyes, the whole inflammation. It was everything was congested there, all in his head. Yes. And that must have made you feel pretty lousy if you have this heat in your head.
Yes, and he hasn't had that. His head has been nice and full.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it felt like he had a fever just on his head, no place else.
We took his temperature. It wasn't a fever. It was just this heat. And he's off of all the steroids. He's off of all the drugs now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's on the sulfur, 4 drops once a day. Is that it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he still had when I spoke to you last, which was 3 months ago, he had some soft stool. How is that doing?
Oh, it's fine.
Stool is perfect.
Yes.
So everything's really perfect.
Yes.
And he's been on the 4 drops once a day for at least 3 months, it looks like. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what we need to do is this. He still has a slight redness of his eyes, a slight lump. I'm going to have you increase that to 5 drops a day.
Okay.
Okay? So we want everything to be perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? So our goal here is to cure him, that everything goes away and we don't need to medicate him at all. Unless something new comes up. So what I want to do, the remedy also is working on his joints, but the supplements don't interfere. It's completely natural. We have one, so that's, I'd keep him on that for the rest of his life, and hopefully we live another 6 years. But what I want to hear is that there is absolutely never any redness in his eyes, that the lump is 100% gone. And I think that really, how often are you putting the eye drops in?
I put the eye drops in 3 times a day.
Okay.
3 or 4 times.
Okay, you know what? I even want that to come back. When's the last time you put the drops in his eyes?
I put it in at 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm going to have you do, I actually want to retest his eyes maybe in a couple of weeks without the drops. So we need to have 12 hours of no drops, so like overnight, because we can maybe cut down on that. I want the autoimmune disease in his eyes to actually resolve also. That's very possible. So we don't have to necessarily, but you don't see him in between the drops. Does it start getting dry or icky looking?
No,
it really looks great.
Yeah.
I am, and I have to, so he may be 100% to begin with. So why don't we're going to up the drops. We're going to go to only 3 times a day. Up the drops of the sulfur, 5 drops once a day of the sulfur. We're going to have you cut down to 3 times a day to make your life a little bit easier with the artificial tears. Okay. And then I want to see you in a couple of weeks without any tears in his eyes to check his tear production, because we may need to not have to do those drops at all anymore. That's totally. Okay. So, and the key is that if anything happens, even if he cuts his foot, no antibiotics, no drugs, unless there's a life-threatening emergency and you can't get to me. Always call me first. Because any drug, he's so sensitive to drugs. That's part of his problems also. I mean, Goldens are very, very sensitive, and he's particularly sensitive, and that's why after all the drugs that the doctors gave him, things were just getting worse and worse. It wasn't that necessarily those drugs were that harmful for everybody, although they're not great for you, but he was very, very sensitive. So, it is quite amazing. I've been seeing you, it's only 4 months. It's 4 months. And he's been a new dog for really 2 months.
Yeah, he really has.
He looks fantastic.
Since like August, he's been really, really well.
Yeah, that's 2.5 months.
Yeah.
We have the dog at this point off of all medications. The dog has great energy. The redness has gone away from its eyes. The second growth fell off on its own. The heat on the top of its head is gone. The dog's muscles are starting to come back a little bit. She does agility with the dog, and it's doing great. And I love when I'm as amazed as my clients on how well we can get the dogs when they've been just so sick. And the lameness, which one could think it was Lyme disease because there was a shifting leg lameness, but it did not respond to the doxycycline. It came back again. And what I use as a symptom is shifting leg lameness, alternate leg lameness. It doesn't necessarily mean, although it could be Lyme disease, it does not have to be that. But the beauty with homeopathy is that we never have to use drugs. We're, again, treating the constitution. We're building up. You never need antibiotics, really, because we have an immune system. And what holistic medicine does is build up the immune system to fight off infection, to fight cancer, to do whatever. We have become so dependent on the pharmaceutical companies, we think that the body is completely at a loss to do anything. That's not true. We're constantly fighting off infection. We cut ourselves, we don't get an infection. Not everybody gets the flu. So what we try to do as holistic vets is to support the body and let it take care of itself. And we can see that beautifully with Cooper, the 10-year-old golden retriever.